Hello. Are you guys enjoying the music? I love our little music. I love our little Ed's is our DJ in the background. Thank you, Ed. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Productive Environment Podcast. For today, we are going to be talking about the noble art of leaving things undone. Did that startle any of you? Because we talk a lot about getting things done and accomplishing our work. Now, we do at Productive Environment Institute talk about accomplish your work and enjoy your life. So when one of our wonderful SOAR members shared a quote with me, I said, oh my goodness, we have got to discuss this on our Productive Environment podcast. So before we jump in, I am Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute. I live here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, and I am joined by...
I'm Barbara Hemphill, founder of Productive Environment Institute in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And we are thrilled to have you join us today for our pep talk. Everybody needs a pep talk at least once a week, and that's what we're here for. So one of our amazing SOAR members, and in our program, SOAR means systemize and organize with action and reference. That's our framework for the work that we do. She sent me, her name is Jen. I'm going to call her nickname. I call her Jen Penn. So Jen Penn sent me this quote that I just fell in love with. So Eds, if you'll share that quote on the screen. There we go. Besides the noble art of getting things done, there is the noble art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. Now, this was a quote by Yutang, and you see he lived from 1895 to 1976. He is a Chinese writer and philosopher, and he wrote a book in the 1930s. I think it was 1937. If you want to share that, there we go, called The Importance of Living. I just love the title of that book. And this quote and the topic for our discussion today is from that book. So let's take a look at the quote again. I'm going to share it a couple different times as we get into, but I just want you to really get it. Besides the noble art of getting things done, there is the noble art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. So he wrote this almost a century ago, right? Yet it feels like it was written for today's world, if anybody can relate to that, of busyness, overcommitment, and digital overwhelm. And our mission at Productive Environment Institute is to help people get organized. It isn't just to help people get organized, though. It's to help them focus on what truly matters. And that's why our tagline is accomplish your work and enjoy your life. And Barbara, you talk often about, I haven't read the book that you read, but you read a book and you talk often about a book called Subtract, right? Was that the name of the book, Subtract?
Subtract,
and
yeah.
So that's what came to my mind as I was reviewing this information. And that was just such a good point about not always just adding things and trying to get so many things done and doing that, but subtract. So do you want to chime in on that concept?
Oh gosh, I could talk about this topic for hours. I mean, it just, I literally, my eyes are teary. I mean, it's like this is what my 47 years in life have been about. And the first thing that strikes me is it's obviously not new. There's nothing new under the sun. This has been going on for a very long time. Yeah. But the other thing is people have often commented, Barbara, you've reinvented yourself so many times, which I've had. There have been 7 different names that my company has had. But the most recent has been digging into the spiritual side of clutter. And 2 of my coaches have written books on that topic. Kevin White wrote the book, Only God Works, talking about we try to do everything that we weren't intended to do. And we also try to do things that that God will do for us if we will stop long enough to ask and to listen. And then Melvin Pillet has written the book called Unwork, which is the same message. So it's like, oh my gosh, Jen, thank you so much for sending this quote. It really touches my heart.
Yes, amen. So let's talk for a minute about why undone is hard. And a few of our SOAR members actually come to mind as one of the things we teach, we created a template to help you kind of gather your whole life into one place. And we call it the SOAR board. And one of the questions we get so much as people are learning how to use the SOAR board and really capture all of their tasks, all of their projects. And the one thing that no other task manager does is be able to find anything you file in your physical filing cabinet in seconds, as well as digital. So it's a great tool. But what happens is, and one of the big questions we get a lot is, well, I have so many things to do. I have so many projects. I have so many tasks, and I get really overwhelmed and I don't know where to start. So that is something that we address on pretty much almost a daily basis. So one of the things that I was thinking about with this is that we are taught from childhood to finish what we start, right? I know in my family, it was finish what you start. If you're going to start something, finish it. Clean up after yourself. Don't leave anything out if you're doing a project, right? So leaving something undone can feel like a failure. Like I didn't finish it. And I know people that have little projects, little pockets of projects all over their house. If that's you, let us know if that's you. If you have lots of little projects, you start. And Barbie, you say all the time, I love to start things. I hate to finish things. So there are those of you out there that like to get this great idea and then start it. And then the key is you don't have to be the one that finishes it. But if it's worth doing, if it's worth continuing, then you find someone else who steps in with the gift of finishing that project, right? So you use your brilliance to start it, and then you can bring in somebody else to finish it. But in the meantime, you may feel like a failure if you have unfinished projects. So, we also realize that clutter in all forms, physical, digital, emotional, spiritual, often comes from things that maybe should have been left undone. There are some projects and some tasks that maybe we shouldn't have on our list at all. And Barbara, your famous quote, of course, is clutter is postponed decisions. So postponing decisions keeps us stuck in the wrong kind of busyness sometimes. So maybe we're postponing finishing the project, but then maybe thinking through that project, we may realize it's not even a project we should be doing, right? But sometimes productivity means saying no, not yet, or not mine to do. And I say often in our group, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, right? So when you have these ideas pop up for a project, and then you've got these other projects that have been waiting for you, imagine what those other projects are thinking when they see this new bright idea you've got. It, they're like, no, wait, finish me before you start something new. So anyway, but an example of a project or a routine, can you think of an example of a project or routine that once made sense, but no longer serves your goals? But we hold on to it because it's a habit or whatever, but maybe it's time to let it go. So Barbara, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I have tons of them. I mean, I'm writing notes so fast that it's like, oh, this. But here's the one, and I'm sure I've shared this on PEPTalk before, but I can't think of a better illustration. Many years ago, back in the 90s, I was traveling, giving 50 to 75 speeches a year. And so I spent lots of time in airports. And if any of you have been around for a while, you know that I love ice cream. I grew up on a farm where when they picked up the milk, they dropped off the ice cream. So the question after the noon meal and the evening meal was, what flavor of ice cream do you want? And I'm addicted to ice cream. Well, I had this project that I was going to write the Airport Lover's Guide to Ice Cream. And I started it. I had graphics. I had connected with flight attendants and pilots from different airports. It was going to be a pocket guide. This is back before digital was as popular as it now. It would be an app, of course. But I was so excited about this project. I just thought it'd be so much fun.
I remember it, Barbara. I remember you telling me about this great, amazing new project you were going to do. I remember the rise of the project and the fall of the project. So go ahead. I remember it.
Well, then, I don't know, I was in the middle of writing a book or something. And so I said, okay, I have to put this aside. So I moved it from an action to a reference. And then I was cleaning out. I think it was probably an annual clean out. And I was cleaning out reference and I came across this. And I thought, this is not really a value I want to promote. Nobody that I know, especially me, needs to eat more ice cream. And in fact, I had a client who had she was a client not in a PEI way, but in another way, who had a bake shop and she was baking cupcakes and they're delicious and whatever. But I said to her, I cannot promote your business because number one, she had diabetes. And so here she was making things that were not good for her and promoting them. And I said to her, I cannot in good faith encourage you to do what you're doing. And ultimately she moved to something else and it turned out to be fine. But that was a hard message to deliver. And throwing the file away that had the art and the graphics and the contents was a hard thing. But it is an illustration of something is often you give up the good for the best.
That's good. Yeah, I remember you calling and talking about being very excited because I love ice cream too. Moose Tracks. Moose Tracks is my favorite, if anybody wanted to know that. But, I remember you calling and telling me you had this brilliant idea about ice cream at the airports. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I'm not sure how long after that you came back and you said, well, I thought about it and it's really not the best use of my time right now or my focus. And do I really want to promote it? So you kind of went up with it. And that's good. And that's actually the next part that I'm going to share. You did this exact thing. So guys, how to practice the art of leaving things undone starts with awareness. Notice where you're overcommitted or overstimulated. So Barbara had this brilliant idea, but then she stopped. She got excited about it, but then she stopped and she realized, oh, wait a minute. I really have all these other really more important things to do. Is this really the time to take on this new project? So she left it undone. She didn't throw it away at that time. She didn't scrap it. You didn't say, oh, toss, action reference toss. You didn't toss it. What you just described, you moved it from action to reference. And then how many years later? Probably at least 10.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, at least 10 years.
Yeah. At least 10 years later, you said, okay, now it's time to toss. So that's okay, you guys. I want you to that's freedom in knowing that your tasks, your projects, your ideas can migrate from action to reference, maybe even to archive, and then toss eventually. So you don't have to throw everything away. That was, you never know when that might have popped back up. So, and you asked yourself, this is an important question, everyone. Is this essential to my purpose right now? So if you get clear on your purpose, that's another pep talk. That might be a workshop. Get really clear on your purpose. What are you trying to accomplish in your life? And if these new ideas pop up, ask yourself, is this essential to my purpose right now? Now, one of the things that we teach in SOAR is that if you don't feel like, if you say no to that, again, you don't have to just toss it. We have in the SOAR board, we recommend setting up a bullet, and you can use this. You can do a folder or a file in your computer. You can do lots of ways to do this, but you can set up something called perhaps, or someday maybe, or future, or ideas, something like that to capture those things. Okay. Just because it pops in your head doesn't mean you need to stop what you're doing and act on it. Let it percolate, let it simmer for a little while. And so, at this point, you can use our SOAR framework, systemize and organize with action and reference. So action is what truly needs to be done by you. So if an idea for a project or something comes up, or you've got tasks, I mean, this topic of leaving things undone can be tasks too, not just big projects. But think about it. What truly needs to be done by you? If it truly needs to be done by you, it can go on your actions in your action section. Or an action could be delegating it to someone else. So maybe your idea is good, but you have somebody else do some parts of it. Reference is what to keep but not act on now. So you might say, this is a good idea for down the road. Let me put it in reference. And as I said, you can create a perhaps or someday maybe or future place to put it. Or toss, what can be released completely. So what I'm saying here is use your system, use that SOAR framework, right? Let your systems do the heavy lifting so your mind can rest. You don't have to do everything just because it pops into your head. Okay, let me say that again. You don't have to do everything just because it pops into your head. Because I know we have a lot of people, and Barbara, you admitted yourself for years, ADD. You are the idea queen. You know, people, you get ideas. It's, oh, I want to do this, and oh, I want to do that. And we have a lot of clients like that too. And it's a beautiful thing to have. It's a positive trait to have. But if you try to act on, imagine this, Barbara, if you try to act on every idea that comes to you, that can do a lot. Just imagine what that would be like, first of all. So you create and use your system to capture those ideas. We call that a capture quest. Capture those ideas so they're going to be there for you. And the last thing I'm going to say about this, and I want to get Barbara to you weigh in on this, but to just remember that leaving something undone is not neglect. It's a strategy. Okay. Because if you're leaving this undone so you can come over here and finish what really matters right now, that's a strategy. That's not neglect. It's not laziness. It's not giving up. It's just prioritizing. So Barbara, your thoughts.
Well, I want to go back a second. At the beginning, we were talking about how we've been taught to finish. And in fact, in PEI, we have often quoted my first mother-in-law, who was a polio survivor, a special education teacher, someone, and her saying was, finish in style, which is a good thing if it's something you should actually be doing. But we often try to finish too many things. So that's one thing. The other thing is that there's two sides to every coin. And I'm an idea person. And the reason Andrea and I call each other peanut butter and jelly, and we are the perfect team, because I mean, she has ideas too, but mine are faster and bigger than hers. And thank goodness her skill is to say, okay, Barbara, let's slow down a little bit. You know, it's like two sides to every coin. And my husband, when I say to him, I have an idea, he goes, oh, no. So, and I remember one time, it's been 3 years ago now, someone said to me, the problem is I love too many things and too many people. Well, that's an example, again, of where there's two sides to the coin. What a blessing that you have that many people to love and that you have that many ideas. But as Andrea pointed out just a minute ago, and I love it, letting go is not neglect, it's strategy. And you cannot be all things to all people. That has been in business one of the most difficult lessons I have had to learn, is that, and it often meant me doing work for a client that a client actually needed to be doing for themselves. So there's a lot of deep, I mean, this is a topic we could talk about for days, literally, because it's really the core of what accomplish your work and enjoy your life is about.
Mm-hmm. So for people that joined a few minutes after we started, I'm just going to share the quote again before we continue. So besides the noble art of getting things done, there is the noble art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. So I have a couple of questions for you guys. And wherever you're joining in from, if you would post in the comments, we'd love to hear from you while we're broadcasting. So post in the comments. And if you're watching the replay later, you can post there as well. I mean, you can still post there. But what's one thing that you could intentionally leave undone this week without guilt? Now, that could be dishes. Maybe you don't want to do the dishes all week. It could be laundry. No, I don't know. But what's one thing that you could intentionally leave undone this week without guilt? If you're listening live, go ahead and pop that over into the chat, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this from. If you're on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to our channel while you're there. It really helps other people get this message. Like this video and share this video. So what's one thing you could intentionally leave undone this week without guilt? That's the first question. The next question is, what's one essential thing that deserves your full attention instead? Okay. What's one essential thing that deserves your full attention instead? And how does your, number three, how does your choice align with PEI's mission, accomplish your work, and enjoy your life? So going back to your idea, Barbara, about the ice cream, so to answer that question, what's one thing you could intentionally leave undone this week without guilt? And that would have been one at that time, you could have said, you know what, out of all the things I have to do, this one I could probably not worry about this week. And then the next question is, what's one essential thing that deserves your full attention instead? So when you decided to put that one aside and leave it undone, you turned your attention towards something else.
I was writing a book, as I recall. And so obviously that was working on one of the walking with Barbara.
Exactly. And we have so many ideas and so many things that we love to do. I love to create. I love to create curriculum and all kinds of different things. And so when we decided, gosh, it's been 2 years now, I can't even believe it. When we decided to start this pep talk, to start this productive environment podcast, we had lots of other things on our plate. We had lots of projects that we were doing, but we decided that this was essential and that it deserved our full attention. So the other thing I remember about that 2 years ago is that we decided to start it in December. So, and that was very intentional, guys. Think about the tasks and projects and goals and things you want to do. When it gets to be this time of year, it's October right now. When it gets to be this time of year, we start thinking, I want to do that. I'm going to start that in January. That's going to be my New Year's resolution. I'm going to start that project in January. So I told Barbara 2 Decembers ago, I said, we're going to start our podcast in December. We are not going to wait. We're going to do it now. We are not going to procrastinate. We're not going to postpone this decision. So we intentionally started this podcast in December of 2023. And still here we are. So ask yourself those questions. What's one thing you could intentionally leave undone this week without guilt? What's one essential thing that deserves your full attention instead? And how does your choice align with the PEI mission, which is to accomplish your work and enjoy your life? We would love to hear from you on that. So I'm going to bring it up one last time and then have you, Barbara, wrap us up in a minute. But we're getting close to time. So let's bring that quote back up. I want to leave you with this. So besides the noble art of getting things done, there is the noble art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. And if we just pare down things little by little, day by day, we will get down to not completely minimalist life, but less clutter, right? That's a great name of a book, Less Clutter, More Life by Barbara Hemphill. That's such a great title. So just remember that wisdom isn't about managing everything. It's about eliminating the non-essentials so we can really, truly focus on what's important. And that's the heart of a productive environment: clarity, simplicity, and peace of mind. So again, I just ask you to subscribe to our channel, like this video, share this video. And Barbara, if you have any closing thoughts to send us on our way, please do.
Well, I love music, and I think about that as in music, the notes you leave out have as much to do as the ones that you leave in. And, for years, for decades, we've talked about the 80-20 rule, saying, it's 20% that make a difference. But one of my coaches, Perry Marshall, several years ago said he thinks that in this era, it's more like 95-5. And that's moving more toward minimalism, because there's so much stress, so many things are so complicated. And the question that I'm always asking people, you'll hear me ask this over and over because I think it's critical, is if you left this earth tonight, what regret would you have? And that answer is a form of clutter. And that's one of the high priorities. So it's like, okay, what? And here's the thing. Most people look at that as a huge project and don't do anything about it. But in fact, there's always one small step. So today, one of the biggest steps forward you could take would be to answer that question. What's one thing, what's a regret I would have if I left this earth tonight? Think of one small step that you could do to move forward, and then look at what else you were planning to do today that's less important. And that will put you well on your way to accomplishing your life or accomplishing your work and enjoying your life. And ironically, to enable others to do the same, because you'll be a role model so that people will want to ask you, why are you so peaceful? And that's the answer.
Love it. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you. And also, if you're new to us and you want to hear more and connect with us, be sure to go to lesscluttermorelife.com, lesscluttermorelife.com. And there is a very short free training there that gives you an introduction to what we're about, what we teach, and how we help people. We'd love to have you join our community. So, all right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day and pass this on to somebody else that needs to hear it. All right, bye, guys.